really enjoyed the speakers so far. I got a lot of out of, Mike, what you said about everything about owning overseas is so relevant to Chinese buyers. Today I'm going to talk about Chinese investors. And also I heard quite a bit about Korea. I know a lot of Chinese are investing in Jeju Island. There's a huge amount of Chinese investors there. I don't even know what the percentage is, but it's so big, it's like national news. People are like protesting about it, right? And here in, I suppose there's a lot of Chinese investors. How many people have multiple Chinese investors, have sold multiple properties to Chinese investors? Okay, and then what's the average price? Okay, 800 to $1 million. All right, anybody else? Because the average nationwide, according to the NAR, is about 800,000, 824 that Chinese are buying. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I went over to, obviously I'm not Chinese. I went over to China in 1989 because I wanted to join the revolution at Tiananmen Square. And I had just finished school, and I wanted to go there and fight with the tanks. And I was very pro, like the wall was falling in Eastern Europe, and I felt very strongly about it. And I went over to Beijing, but unfortunately I got there too late. Everything was finished, and I got there in the summer. And it just finished early summer, right? So this is what it looked like when I first got there. There was basically no cars. All we did was we would ride our bicycles and grab a hold of the buses, and they would take us all the way across Beijing. Just go 50 miles an hour on the bike. And the bikes weren't very safe, but they were nice and heavy though, that was good. But a lot's changed since then, obviously. So right now there's so many Chinese buyers, and there's so many scams, and there's so many people wasting money right now. I see it all the time. And this is one thing that drives me insane, because it doesn't have to be that way. The information is out there. You don't have to get ripped off. Every time there's a new market, I think people there's so much unknown. I heard a little bit of what you said too about these properties in Costa Rica. You don't know much about them, right? But what I heard here is some real practical wisdom, and that's the same thing you have to do when you're dealing with Chinese buyers. You have to think realistic, right? You have a combination of Facebook's blocked, Twitter's blocked, right? There's no Zillow. You can't upload anything. You can't upload that kind of stuff to Zillow. You can't Trulia, basically, any of those sites. They're not so useful for getting Chinese leads. Although they do work. I mean, it's worthwhile to be online and have your stuff online. Chinese buyers might find you. Zillow has a partnership with Leju in Shanghai. But it's still not a good way to get buyers, right? So how do you get buyers? There's all these websites out there. There's all these people right now. There's like call centers out there. And basically everyone I know, what they do is they're advertising their company. Okay, so we're a big website, we're a big call center, and they're paying for ads, and they're driving buyers to them, right? And they're maybe dishing them out to you. So you get nothing as a realtor, right? You're paying big money for ads, but it's already cut in half. You're getting like introductions from other realtors who want 50%. How many people have been offered that kind of thing? Like 50%. We want 60%. We'll give you a Chinese buyer, we want 60%. That's what I heard the other day. Yeah, that's what the kind of thing you hear when you start dealing with other agents in China. And it's really crazy because you'll see a Chinese agent and they'll have all these buyers come in all day. And you think, man, this guy's rich, But then you find out that he's getting all these buyers from some company and he's barely even covering it. You know what I mean? He's losing money. He just thinks that maybe eventually he's going to start to make money in the future, right? So all the ways that basically are out there to help you to get buyers don't work, or they're too expensive to be viable, right? You can't go through a middleman for Chinese investors. It just doesn't work. If someone introduces somebody to me and they want 50%, even if they want 25%, it's a total waste of time. The reason is because somebody's between you and your buyer. If someone introduces a Chinese buyer to you, they're going to be the ones answering questions, right? They're the ones with the relationship. It's all about relationship, right? You got to have the relationship with that person. You get an introduction from somebody, they're going to try to control the transaction, right? They're going to be in the middle. Every question, the Chinese buyer is going to ask that person first, and then they're going to tell them something which might not even be legal, which you might not approve of, and then they come to you. And there's always that person in the middle. That's the other reason why you don't want any kind of partnership, or you don't want introductions. because it's like you don't control it. When you guys sell stuff, you're selling stuff directly, right? You're talking to the buyer, you know who they are, you have their phone number. When you go through a partner, you're all of a sudden, there's this glass wall between you and the buyer, and you wonder why deals never happen. The reason why they never happen is because that guy in the middle is giving it to 30 realtors. He has this one Chinese buyer, right? It's like the beautiful girl at the party, right? And then he's like, you want to meet her, you want to meet her, you want to meet her? And then all the other agents, they think they're the only one. So they're like, oh yeah, I got this Chinese buyer. He's a billionaire, But it's like, who else is he meeting? Who else, what else is he doing, right? It's usually a complete waste of time. The only way you can make money if you're dealing with Chinese investors is if you deal directly. That's the only way, in my experience. So you have to learn how to get those leads to yourself. So they're looking for you, and they're interested in you, because you have built yourself up where you can provide value to that person, right? And I'll say right away, that some Chinese buyers won't use you, no matter who you are in this room. They won't use you. Some Chinese buyers, they only want to deal with Chinese, right? And that's the truth. And some buyers, they only want to deal with non-Chinese, right? As I've seen that before. It's like, I want to get out of China, I don't want to be in this Chinese community, I want to be out. But as I heard earlier, it's all about community, and people think they want to be out of the community, but actually they don't want to be too far, because you need Chinese food, and you need a Chinese lawyer, Chinese tax accountant, things like that, right? Okay, so let's start to make sense out of things. Is what you want to do is these slides. I want to do something different here, because this is a savvy group. You guys are dealing with Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese buying around here. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. You need to get leads, right? But you don't want to go through a middleman, okay? Unless you love wasting time, right? You don't want to do that. So you want to get your own leads. How would you do that? How would you get a lead from China? What's that? Friends and relatives is good, but it's like Amway. It's limited. You only have so many friends, right? So, I teach realtors how to get Chinese investors, and about 40% of my students are Chinese, and they've already used up all their friends. They're done with their friends. They've gone through all the relatives and friends, and that's easy. But then, what do you do after that? So it does work. It's limited. What else can you do? Chinese community, sure, that's great. Yeah, Chinese dinners, Chinese community. I'm going to Chinese dinner tonight, and my friend just had a baby this morning, and they're over here to buy a house, and they have another friend. They're Airbnb in a house. It's like 2 Chinese families, and they both have babies here, and they're both buying houses. So yeah, Chinese community, it's great. Dinners, things like that, good. Definitely, that's a lot of the buyers. That's the other thing, is a lot of the companies that are marketing to you as realtors. They're telling you that all the buyers are in China, but actually a lot of them are here, or they're visiting, or they're around here. They've been here for a while, right? So it's a mix. Don't think black and white. Just think, okay, there's networking, which is here, people already here, and then there's a way to reach over there. How would you reach over to China? How would you get over? How would you, what would you do? It's tough, right? It's tough. It's very tough, right? So what most agents do that I see is that they waste money. So they waste money. So they get a ticket and they go to an event where they're going to market their properties at some kind of event. Well, I've done events. I've been in, like I said at the beginning, she said I've been in Asia since '89, right? So I've seen a million of these events, you guys. I mean, I've been to so many events, I can't even, there's like an event every 2 days. So I've been to so many. They know, all the event guys that run the events know me. They're like, hey, Lalo, what are you doing? Because I know them, right? It's like, these events, a lot of these are just total scams. They're total scams. They'll rent out a cheap place, and they'll sell tickets, and everybody will come over there, and they'll set up their thing. I've had people that actually want to murder people because they lost so much money. I knew a guy, Canadian, he spent $125,000 to go to an event. He didn't even get one even person walked to his booth. And he had this huge thing built. He called me up for help. I'm like, why didn't you call me before? You spent the money, It's like, you have to see through these things, right? These events are just, I'm not saying you can't make money guaranteed off events. Maybe you will. Maybe if you jump off this balcony, somebody will catch you. It's possible, but it's not that likely. It's probably not the best plan. Events are it's just like it could rain. Like things can go wrong. Yeah.
And for the acting,
local newspapers, they tend to be, the good ones tend to be expensive. And I'll tell you, that's a great one. That's a really, thank you very much. There was a website that used to, I forget what's the name of that. There was a website I used to recommend to my students, and it was like really good. Like you could advertise on this website, and you would actually get buyers. You would get good leads. But what happened was it was so good that the company stopped taking ads. And now they became like, they're just selling themselves. So anytime that something works, the company knows it, and then they start either raising the price super high, or they're going to change over to something that they can make big money. Because some of these buyers, you guys, they're really rich. I mean, they're really rich. And they can do a lot of stuff, right? They can invest in huge developments, right? They really do have the money. It is there, but I don't want to get you too, that you think it's going to be easy, but okay. So, but yeah, that does, if you look around and you really look, you might find some gem. Don't tell anybody when you find a good one. When you find a good one, But you can always do things like put things on Craigslist in Chinese. You can always do that. You can put anywhere you can, post an ad, you can do it in Chinese. I have friends that have made money on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not blocked in China. It's one of the websites not blocked because they cave into the government's demands to get rid of things about Tiananmen Square and things like that. So LinkedIn's not blocked, so you can join groups on LinkedIn. And there's some serious people on there. There's some serious buyers on LinkedIn, for sure. And you can network with them pretty easy. It's one of the easiest ways that you can reach buyers. What I like is what I wrote a post on the other day. This is some of my secret sauce, which I used to not tell, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys. One of the easiest things you can use is Facebook. Now, it sounds crazy, right? You guys are like, what are you talking about? Facebook is blocked in China. You can't see Facebook. But it works awesome, okay? Why? It works because it's blocked. Like when you go to the club, right? You got the bouncer, right? And he keeps all the riffraff out. Right? Only the people that, the good people, right? The people that are good for the club, he lets in, right? The firewall blocks anybody in China from looking at Facebook unless you have money. Because then you can get all kinds of VPNs and you can get around it, right? And it costs money. Believe it or not, it does cost money. I've had people say, oh, I saw one that's cheap. Trust me, if you live in China and you want to use Facebook for business, it's going to cost you money because it's a cat and mouse game. It changes. One day it might be easy. The next day something happens in the government and it's super hard. You can't get on. You can't even contact your clients if that's the only way you're contacting them, right? So to stay on Facebook, it costs not that much money, but it's like $300 a year, and it takes a lot of your time. So the people that are on there have money and they're interested in foreign countries. Right? Would you guys pay $300 extra a year just to use the internet? I mean, you wouldn't want to, right? Chinese don't either, right? So they try to get around it. They try to use free VPNs and it gets blocked, and then they find out it's actually the Chinese government making a free VPN that's taking their information. There's this huge cat and mouse game going on all the time. My VPNs are all blocked right now. I heard the Go Trusted is working right now. So Facebook is blocked. Except for unless you're technically savvy, you have money, right, and you're interested in foreign countries. But what kind of buyers do you guys want? Right? So try Facebook. I would highly recommend. You can do Facebook for $5 a day. You can start putting ads out, and you can start to get leads. And when you get those leads, what's so golden about those leads is nobody else owns them. They're just coming to you. They're not playing out 400 realtors because there's not that many ads on there right now, right? So you can try it. I don't make any money off it, but I recommend it. At least give it a try because you'll at least see what happens when the leads come in. Because when you run ads and when you get leads, you're going to learn really what's going on in the Chinese market. Because one thing about the Chinese market is someone's always going to tell you what's going on. There's always going to be an expert telling you what's going on in China. And usually they don't have a clue. Usually they have no clue. If they've been here too long, they don't have a clue. And if they are not technically savvy, they don't have a clue. Because things are changing really fast, just like they are here, right? Used to be this way, now it's that way, right? So when you're running ads and you're getting leads in real time, you actually can see what they want. They'll tell you, I want to buy a farm, I want to buy a winery, I want to buy this, I want to buy a commercial property, right? I'm looking for something to get a visa, immigration, right? EB-5 project, right? There's those kind of things. I'm not huge on EB-5 projects. Do you guys know? You guys all know what they are, right? Investment. Anybody like them? Anybody make any money on them? They're tough. I don't recommend them. EB-5 is very complex. It's like, you have a very simple thing. You have real estate and you have a client, and they buy it and you make money, right? And then they have a house. That's great, right? I love that. But when you talk about EB-5s, it's like you got the U.S. government involved, and you got all kinds of rules, you got all kinds of things. You got, even if the project, retroactively can have a problem, and they'll take away those green cards from those people, right? And so there's a lot of problems with EB-5s. I'm not saying you can't do it. If you guys want to do EB-5s, go for it. But be a professional. Don't get confused. You're looking for Chinese buyers, just get Chinese buyers, right? Don't look for immigration. Don't get too confused. Just say, look, I'm a realtor. I have a friend. This is one thing you guys can do. You can call and find somebody who you respect, and you can find them as a good immigration attorney who does EB-5 projects, and then you can introduce that person. And then you save yourself all the legal troubles, and you brought them a good client. And maybe, just maybe, they'll turn around and give you a client, right? Because you helped them. So you can get those leads, find out what's going on with those leads. You can try to understand what the people want. A lot of times when I get leads, I have a website in the UK that gets a lot of traffic, and some of the leads are just hilarious. I mean, some of the leads, like one of my best leads I ever got was like the guy. It was empty. Okay, the message was empty, but the subject was, "Hey." That was it. So I got this email. I'm like, "What is this?" And I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, "Is this? I don't know what this is." But I'm gonna just reply normally, professionally. I said, "Oh, well, thanks for the interest in property on, beach on, and COUK, and what would you be interested in? Blah blah blah." It was just a young kid. He was 19 years old. He bought a $2 million house like 3 weeks later, cash, and he thought it was cool. He thought, "Hey, I'm going overseas. I want to be cool," and that's what he wrote in his thing. Right? So with Chinese buyers, you have to be careful, because at the same time, I'm very cynical because I've done everything. I've been there so long. I mean, I've had so many things happen to me. Like, I don't know if you guys know the story, but I've been kidnapped at gunpoint, like basically almost killed by a long story guy with warranty, with connections. We've had all kinds of things, real up and down. So I've been through a lot of stuff. But I'm not here to say it's easy. No, I lost my train of thought here. What was I saying? I started thinking about that time, and I get to lose my train of thought. But basically, yeah. Okay, so you got leads. Sometimes they won't make sense. Be professional. Give them a chance. So you're cynical on one side, right? A lot of people, when they deal with Chinese buyers, and especially Chinese people, is they're very afraid of asking the guy, "Do you have money?" Because they're going to offend them culturally or something. Or maybe, they're going to walk away. I am not afraid. I just say, "Hey, you got the money or not?" Just boom. Tell me, show me, And then the guy's like, and I'm like, this is the way we do it here. We have to do this, And then, maybe not in the exact tone of voice, but basically, yeah. I mean, just ask. Don't be afraid. If someone's not going to tell you if they have money, they're not going to buy a property, right? So don't be afraid to ask those probing questions, because you have to know when they're coming from overseas. They have to have the money in the States for a certain period of time. You have to know if that is already happened, if they understand the situation. How you suss out time wasters, okay? The way you make money with Chinese buyers is by getting rid of time wasters and focusing on the good people, the ones who are really going to buy, who are really your friends. So you have to ask a lot of questions. You have to find out, what's your situation? How long have you been here? Where's the money? You have the money. Okay. What have you done so far? I want to know what's your history here, Because a lot of times I'll be talking to somebody and they act like they're not acting, but it seems like they just got here last week. And then I find out that they went to UC Berkeley, and then they got a graduate degree at UCLA, and they've been here for a long time. Right? And then they just went back for a couple of years, and now they're coming back. I want to know that as a realtor. I want to know, what's your story? What's your story in America? Because if I know that story, it'll open up a lot of things in my mind about what to present to them, what to say to them, and how to help them. Because obviously, if they already know a lot of stuff, their English might not be great, but if they already know a lot of stuff, you're going to be thinking very differently. This person obviously has money here, or I just treat them more like an American buyer, and they understand what's going on. And if they're brand new, then I might be invite them over to dinner right away. Just please come on to my house, let's have some dinner. The old Chinese dinner, you all go out and buy a bunch of food, go to the Chinese market, everybody cooks together, make some jiaozi or something, little dumplings. And that's always a good time. That's always a good time. That's always a good way. That never fails. Beer and jiaozi is awesome. Yeah, and noodles, tastes great, and everybody loves it. Everybody has a good time. I'm just thinking of a couple of things. One thing you definitely don't want to do, and this is what I see big mistake people doing, Chinese and non-Chinese, is they get a buyer and then they read online that they're supposed to take them to dinner, they're supposed to impress them, right? So they say, they call their friends, where should I take them? I take them to the Ritz-Carlton, I'll take them to the nice, Don't do that, don't do that. If the buyer's here for a free dinner, you don't want them, right? It's just totally unnecessary. So I take them to, I don't know what around here would be the place, but it's like the neighborhood Chinese place. Just simple, basic food. It's gonna cost like $20 each, something like that. And I'll take them and I'll pay for that. Because if you start to pay too much, don't complain when you find out that they want more, right? Then they call you and say, hey, can you book me a hotel? Yeah, I've had that happen a million times. Yeah, can you book me a hotel? Can you give me a ticket to this? I want to go to Vegas. Yeah, I want to go to Vegas. I heard that. Yeah, and it's like, hey, I would love to take you to Vegas. I'd love to give you 90% of the commission back. I'd love to do all that stuff. The problem is, you have to explain it to me. See, the problem is if I do that, then I can't provide professional services to you. So if somebody else does that and they somehow can make money at 10% or taking you out everywhere, good luck. I think you should use that realtor. But if that's not what you want, if you want a professional broker, I can do that for you, and I can be your friend too. Right? So you kind of just tackle it in a roundabout way. You don't just say, hey, I'm not here for free dinners. You just kind of explain why you can't do it, why it doesn't make sense. So they say, okay. Because you're standing up for yourself too. You stand up for yourself and they'll say, okay, this is a serious person, right? It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to ask tough questions to Chinese buyers. Definitely, it's okay, and you should. This is basically just how much time do I have?
Maybe another 15 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. All right, so basically you want to be, these are things you want to do. You want to be just like with your buyers here, someone's new is moving in the city, you want to be able to help them, you want to be able to introduce them to the area, you want to know where the food is, you want to know where the vegetable markets are, things like that. Like Chinese buyers, they like to be able to walk to a vegetable market or to buy vegetables in the morning. And like a lot of the older people, go ahead, anybody wants to stand up and move around, you guys have been sitting for a long time, so feel free to stand up and whatever. I love standing, I have a standing up desk, I never sit down. So you want to be like a source of information for somebody moving into town, and you want to be a source of that community, which you're talking about. Is when I moved to Shanghai the first time, I saw, if you can understand this story, you can understand more about where the buyers are coming from. So I moved to Shanghai, and I didn't know anybody in Shanghai at the time. I had somebody, let me think, not really. I didn't have any friends there for sure. And I didn't know what I was doing. I got to the city, I took a taxi downtown, and I just sitting there going, what am I going to do in the city? I have no idea, And I look and there's this English language. I speak Chinese, but I'm not very good at reading. So I look online, there's these English magazines, and they're basically trying to sell me an apartment, trying to rent me an apartment. There's all these ads, this 100 square meters, and south facing, and I don't know what there was on there. Not much, just basically describing some room. But I'm looking at this ad, I'm thinking, these guys are idiots. I'm so new to the city, I don't even know, I have no idea what does this room mean to my life, right? I see the picture, but what does it mean, right? It's like, where's the community? What's it like living there, right? So finally I met somebody, an agent, who said, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I actually wanted to go to Jiaotong University a little bit, and I wanted to open a business. And she said, okay, well, you probably want to be in Jing'an area, because Jing'an area has got all the business stuff, and you've also got easy access to Jiaotong University. And I said, really? And then she said, yeah. And then we were talking longer, and I said, and this happened to me in China, believe it or not, all the time, is when people look at me, because the state controls the media, they try to train people not to like foreigners. So it's really true. And when I walk down the street, because I look so foreign to people, a lot of people will look at me and spit on the ground. Yeah, and it happens like every day, like 50 times, right? So I kind of get used to it, it's fine. But the thing is it depends on the area. It happens more in a poor area, happens a lot less in a rich area. So she said to me, she said, you probably have a little bit of issues, you know, and this is quite a few years ago, it still happens, but, and I said, yeah, and she said, well, Jing'an is the best for that. And I said, you sold me. I'm like, I'm getting a place in Jing'an, right? Because she knew what I was going through. She knew what I was dealing with, you know, she understood that. So if you understand that for your Chinese buyers, just put yourself, them in that same position. They're over here, either they know what's going on because they've been here before, they know they have friends here, you want to know that. And if they have friends, you want to know what they're doing. Are they introducing, you know, properties and things like that, right? You just want to have open communication with them. And then if they're brand new, then you want to know what they need, okay? And that's what I was talking about, knowing how it feels to be Chinese in this area. Because I just got back from Texas. I went on a 45 city thing, and Texas was very comfortable for Chinese in Austin, but it wasn't so comfortable in Dallas. I felt like that. You know, I was with some Chinese friends. I didn't feel very comfortable in Dallas. You know, we were speaking Chinese and stuff, and it just didn't feel, you know what I mean? It was kind of like I just didn't. Whereas in Austin, I felt totally international, right? So you got to know how it feels to be somebody in a place, right? Because it's very new. It's very, and everybody's going through different things. The man, the woman, the kids are all going through different things, right? So the more you know about how people feel, that's what you get from hanging out with Chinese and then talking to them, honestly talking. You know, you'll learn how they feel about stuff and what they experience. Their real life. You're like an ambassador, you know? You're something like that, more than a real estate agent. You're more like an ambassador, really. And if you take that attitude, you'll do better. But you got to be a hard line too. You got to have that hard line where it's like, I want to know the truth. You know, I'm tired of this stuff. How many agents are you guys using? And then what's happening? Tell me what's happening. Is there anything you guys are looking at? So you have to always go back, because Chinese, and especially Chinese and Indian investors come from a place without a lot of trust. Right? There's not a lot of trust, and maybe because there's so many people, who knows? A lot of things have happened, but that's one thing. And the other thing is agents are very disrespected in these countries. So in Shanghai, you know, nobody likes agents. I mean, they're like the worst. You know, you guys think agents are bad here? Oh my gosh, try Shanghai. You know, I had all kinds of stuff happen in my office. I had so many death threats. I mean, they weren't real death threats. They were like joke death threats. But, you know, you fire somebody and then they tell you they're going to kill you, or they come and kick my door, break my door, you know. Or like, I had a girl, this is incredible, but I had a girl who was working in her office, and I found out she was working as a prostitute in my office after we went home. She was like using it as a room. And you know, like that's the level of people you get as agents. You know, we were trying to get the best agents we could. She was really professional. Like I couldn't believe it. I was just feel so bad at the fire, but you know, it's like agents are not high level. They're not trained. Nobody has licenses in China. There's licenses, but those are for businesses. So I have a big business. I get a license. You guys can all work here, and then you guys can open up other offices. You can use my license. Okay. So agents, don't expect them to trust or respect agents. So part of it, you have to teach them, train them what you are. What is an agent here? So they say, you don't have to lecture them, but I mean, just in your own way, you have to show them that you're not what they experienced back in China. Because that's a completely different thing. Like, you know, agents, you give them a key in China, they're going to use your house. You know, they're going to definitely use your house. Right? Cook some food, stop by with their friends, a couple of beers, you know, or who knows, you know. Like my house, we always had, whenever we got a new house, the old agents always had the key. And they would always come in. Like one time they came in at 5 in the morning on a Saturday. Like some other agent showing the house. Where am I living there? Like I just don't even know what, you know, the level of agent is just incredible. So that's where they're coming from. That's where they grew up. So now you're coming along saying, hey, I'm professional, we're professional here, but would you believe it? Not right off the bat. You'd have to see it in action. You have to show them that you're different. And to teach them who you are, what you do, explain things to people, explain slowly. One thing is, I think a lot of agents that don't speak Chinese are afraid, hey, I don't speak Chinese, right? I can't do it. There's a couple things you can do. One is you can partner with Chinese. You guys, a 1-2 punch works really well. For me, I always have me and the Chinese. We always do it as a team. You know, I'll help them. If they don't like foreigners or not comfortable with me or something, I'll bring in my Chinese staff, right? And then if they go forward and then something happens, I can go in and fix the situation because I'm totally different. I can go in and just like, and say, look, what's the problem? Like, what happened here? Like, what did we do wrong? I can get down to the heart of what is going on, the issue, right? So you don't have to be Chinese or non-Chinese. It's more flexible. You can use various things. If you have an all Chinese agency, you can hire a foreigner who speaks Chinese. That's ace, really smart actually, to do. So you can do things like that. Or if you're all foreign, if you have somebody you trust, you can work with somebody. You just have to make sure that it's the right person. Make sure you're working with the right person. Right? Let's see here. Hit me with any questions you guys have. Let's see. This is a real simple thing here. A lot of people, when they're dealing with Chinese, they lose their minds. They stop thinking, right? I want you guys to think. Use your brain. Always use your brain. Okay, if you don't read Chinese, should you put a Chinese ad up? Right? You know? Probably not. You're fishing for the wrong fish, right? You know? You're putting in the bait is like, hey, you know, I speak Chinese, I'm fluent in Chinese, we're Chinese. And then they come and they're not, and then they don't like you. Whatever, you know, big surprise, right? I'll do, what I tend to do is if you don't speak Chinese, is do mostly English and then just a little bit of Chinese, like welcome Chinese, something like that. Something to let them know that you want to give them some kind of an opening that they're welcome. Okay, that's what you want to give them. Chinese are welcome here. You know, because some people don't want Chinese. Seriously, go read the newspaper. Some people think there's too many Chinese buying houses. They're against it, right? And they don't know who you are. So if you let them know you're welcome, and I'll give you one quick story. When I was climbing the Ome Mountain in 1989, I was climbing the mountain, and it's like 30 kilometers, right? We're walking up the mountain, 30 kilometers. And as we walk up, the whole way up the stairs, the whole way up the stairs, there's people trying to sell us something, right? And there's restaurants, like not restaurants, but I mean like a wok. Some guy with some coal, and he's cooking, right? And then he was always trying to get us in to get us to eat. And of course, at that time, I couldn't speak Chinese, and so we're walking up the mountain, and everyone's like showing me a statue and stuff. It's like, I'm gonna buy a statue on the way up a mountain, you know? But, you know, and everybody's, they couldn't understand where I was coming from, right? That's what you look like, you do it, by the way. But when I was walking up the mountain, and then finally I saw a sign, and it said, English sign, it said fried children. Right? And so I said, I gotta go in here, right? So I said, I got fried children, so I got it as chicken, but, you know, the thing is, they were trying to get me in. They were trying to say, well, I could feel it, because the other ones were all in Chinese, right? And this one says fried children. I knew that they were trying to say foreigners are welcome, and so I walked in that place. So that's a good story, because if you just show that you are welcoming to people, then they will come in. You don't have to be perfect, right? Often the solution, it just comes out of nowhere. Like they have a daughter who speaks Chinese or English, or they have a friend, or some people don't really care. I've had people buy from some agents, and they just don't care. They're just happy. Like for some, I don't know why. They'll just like, they speak really slow. Maybe they're some kind of challenger for them or whatever, You don't know what people are going through. So just show them that you're welcome. They're welcome in your place. They're welcome buying. You want to help them, and leave it at that. So what one of my agents did, he put the Chinese welcome cat, the welcome cat thing. He put it in his window, and he was in a mall in Maui, and he asked me what I should do to get them to walk in, because there was Chinese walking through the mall, right? It's a really high-end mall, and then he couldn't get them to come in, right? And so I said, put up the welcome cat. So he put in the welcome cat, and then sold the house right there. Taiwanese family. He said, huge deal, easy sale, super friendly, super nice people. They saw the cat, they see this big fat white guy, they start laughing, they came in. They thought it was hilarious. They thought, oh, you mean how punk out? You're so bad, And then the Chinese always talk like that, It's always like that, It's like, there's a lot of jokes about body stuff. It's like, it's not as politically correct as here, you guys. It really is. It's a pleasure in many ways. I like to, But, so you can do little things like that. Think of things like that you can do. Depends on, obviously, if you're in an area where they can see walking by, right? But that's one thing you can do, and don't fish for the wrong clients. Let's see here. Basically, you want to be their best friend forever. Okay, one story. We bought a buyer. I didn't, but my friend did, and I was helping him. this is a long time ago, to an Intero office in San Francisco, and or in San Jose, sorry, in San Jose. And the guy had $10 million. He was a real buyer. He wanted to invest in something, and so my friend at Intero, Al Mendoza, paid for him to fly over. Right, so he flew over. He came over. He went to. He was a real buyer. He wasn't getting a free ticket. He was serious. And he took him out to dinner. He showed him the place. Everything was great. He wined and dined him, and in the evening he took him to the elevator in the hotel and let him go. And in the elevator he met another guy who sold him a hotel for $10 million. Yeah, he had him all the way down to the end. You know, he was. When you have a real buyer, you've got to hug him tight. You know, they need the diapers. Get some diapers. You know, figure out where the diapers are. You know, you want to hug them, whatever they need. Just you need something? No problem. Maybe you can't do it for them, but you can tell them how to do it. You're always the important person there to help them, to make it easy, right? Just always don't let them out of your sight, because if you really have a serious buyer, it's a tragedy to lose them for something done like that. So make sure, it's like BFF, man. What do you need? What's going on? You know, you hungry? Let's go out. Let's do this. You know, what's going on today? How's your wife? How's this? How's that? How's the kids? Right? You know, just keep probing, always probing. You're using. Obviously, how many people have WeChat? WeChat. Yeah, WeChat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. How many do you post every day? You got any real clients from WeChat? Every day? Yeah. Have you got a real client from WeChat? Yeah. From Look Around, or where did it come from? Hmm? What's it? No, but how did you find them? How did you get connected to them in the first place? Oh, okay. So you just met them and you added them. Okay, WeChat is something that if you're serious about, if you're not even serious, if you're just halfway amateur interested in Chinese buyers, go download WeChat and install WeChat. It's free. It's like the Facebook of China. And I can't tell you how far you can go with WeChat. You can go very, very far if you really get good. People get proud if they have China, they use WeChat a lot. They think they're good at it. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You can create a group. You can have a newsletter. You can do so many things. I have so many friends making money on WeChat. I can't tell you, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. And it's a great way. If you have like a WeChat, like people on there, you can ask them a lot of questions. I always ask questions. In Facebook, when I ask a question to my friends, they hardly ever answer it, to be honest. Once in a while, I'll say something, like, should I get the iPhone 6 or Nexus, 6P? And one of my friends will know about it and he might comment, right? But Chinese are totally different. They're way more social. I put down a question like, what do you guys think about this? Should I do this? And then I get like, tons of responses, What's the best? It's like, so Chinese are way social. So on WeChat, you can ask questions. So you can say, anything. Like, for example, this is really important because you want to know what Chinese think about your area, right? What do they think about your area, right? So you want to know, for example, let's say Chino Hills. What is Chino Hills to most Chinese buyers? What is this place? Education? Okay. Which school in particular? Yeah. Is it? Chino Unified. Okay, so if you're in Chino Unified, you get grade school, right? The kids go to a grade school.
And you got a big Chino Chinese community here.
Yep, that Chinese community? Sure. Absolutely. I can see that just driving around, yeah. Okay, so you got Chinese community and education. Anything else?
Quality of life.
Okay, quality of life. Okay, we'll go one more minute here. Okay, so what you want to do is when you present your area, just talk about those three things. Don't talk about the ocean. Don't talk about this and that. Talk about the specific things. You do your research. You find out exactly what the Chinese buyers want, and you put those things on your marketing. You put those things on your WeChat. Don't try to teach them about stuff. They don't care about surfing. They don't care about just find out what people buy. Chinese buyers are very, very practical. Yeah, and you want to be just almost like outrageously straight with the three things that matter. Those three things, and you just pound those three things, boom, in your marketing. Because that way, you get the most amount of people interested in you, because they realize that you know what they want. See, you talk about the other things, they don't really think you understand them. They might know it's true, but it's like they don't care, right? It's like a lot of things in China, I just didn't care about. I knew they were real, I know that, but like for me in my life, it didn't matter. So find those 3 things. You want to drive your own leads. Okay, I'll just go back over a little bit. Drive your own leads to your own website, and you want to find out who those people are, and you want to market. When you're driving those leads, you want to use those 3 points I said, the 3 points of Chino Hills, education, those 3 things, and get those leads and start practicing, start playing with that, start talking to them, add them on WeChat, add everybody here on WeChat, yeah? Go to the restaurant, add everybody on WeChat, and start communicating with people, and you'll start to learn really, really fast. So thank you very much. I have a course, it's at ChinaCashBuyers.com, and if you sign up, it's free for the introductory, like you get a few videos and things like that. And then I have a full course, so I teach, it's all online, and I also do consulting with the course. So if it turns you on, it's something you get excited about, and it does me. I'm heading over there next week, so I'll be out of here. But either way, thanks for your time.